Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Are you in the mood for one more verse? And then we'll do Q&A, because otherwise we'll have difficulty finishing the text. You know, when I sit in the room and look at the verses, I think I can do easily 3-4. But then when I come here, it only slowly goes. So let us look at the text. So, darshana, we redefine darshana as shravana, really. Because if you have darshana, what happens? Nothing happens. So, when we talk about costume, that is a nice word, costume, but the technical word is upadhi. And what is upadhi? Samipe sthitva swadharmam anyan itaran adatte. That which sits near to something and gives its attributes, as it were, lends its attributes to something else with which it is sitting near, so to speak. And our stock example is what? Crystal and Japakusamam, hibiscus flower. Seen behind the crystal, the hibiscus flower is not immediately recognized as hibiscus flower. What do we see instead? The crystal becoming red color. And so that is what we are seeing here. And so the redness of the crystal is not its own. It has as though taken that redness from the flower without being affected in any way. So too the crystal clear awareness, free of name and form, takes on the dharma, the attributes of the name and form with which it is as though associated, like the body, like the mind, like the senses. So, upadhitaha, from the standpoint of the upadhi, Ishvara and Jiva can never meet. Complete difference. Who is Jiva? Small, tiny. Who is Ishvara? Everything. And then, who is Jiva? Small knowing. Small means small knowing. Ishvara is all knowing. In other words, Ishvara is omniscient. Jiva is struggling to spell the word omniscient. Always I before E except after C. Let's see. Here it doesn't seem to work. What is this omniscient? All knowing, all Ishvara, all pervasive. Jiva, small pervasive. Can barely stay in his own body, her own body, let alone be everybody. Not possible at all. So, and then Jiva is, Ishvara is God. Jiva is at best odd. Ishvara is cause. Jiva is because. So many differences. From the standpoint of the upadhi, the two can never meet. So from the standpoint of the upadhi, the powerless Jiva looks up to the powerful Ishvara as you are everything. I am nothing. This is how it is. But then when you remove the upadhi, like we removed the costume, what is underneath? Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda wearing a costume. Sometimes a scary costume. Sometimes a nice costume. So many costumes, so little time. This much we have seen. So darshanam is jnanam. Ishvara darshanam is Svatmavidyananda. This is what we have to understand. The understanding the darshan of Ishvara according to the Vedantins is the knowledge of oneself that has been understood and identified. So one identifies with the awareness rather than the body mind cells complex. Verse number 25. Veshahanat Svatmadarshanam Ishadarshanam Svatmarupatah Veshahanatah. Veshahani means by the removal of the costumes. What happens? The appreciation. Darshanam cannot be taken literally here. Darshanam is not seeing something. We use this all the time. Do you see what I am saying? When I say that, what am I using? I am not asking you to see it. I am asking you to get it. So we use the word see all the time since it's a very mula pramana. It's a means of knowledge that has a lot of authority and validity. So we overuse the word see. Do you see what I am saying? I am not asking you to see it. I am asking you to understand it. So here, darshanam here is not actually seeing, it's understanding and assimilating this knowledge. So Ishva darshanam is what? Svatma darshanam. One's own, the sight or the understanding of one's own self as free of all costumes, no matter how dear. Whatever costumes that one is wearing or one is having in one's hand is like the teddy bear or the security blankie of a baby. You know, the mother has to go to work, father has to go to work. This baby is scared all the time. And then so what? They'll buy it one teddy bear. Here, take. Or they will buy it one, or it will just get attached to one blanket that it keeps taking around the house or wherever it goes. Even if they go on holiday, if they leave the teddy bear behind finished, okay, whole holiday will be ruined. They have to go back and bring the blanket. The blessed blanket has to be with this toddler all the time. This is like a security blanket. Even to wash it, the mother has to sneakily go and get it and wash it when the baby is not looking. So attached the baby is to the blanket. Without blanket, baby feels completely at odds with itself, cries, insecure. In the same way, the jiva is attached to the costume. Because of it's so easy. Okay, I take who wants to wear these tattered things with teardrops in the lining and teardrops as the border? Nobody. Let me take it off. Let me just be Satchidananda. Jiva will not do that. Why won't the Jiva do that? Yes. This gives a certain security. But it is torn. No, I have to have this. Sometimes people are like that, especially if they have dementia or something like that. I have seen. And then what happens? They have to they will not change their clothes at all. Very insecure. They have to cut the clothes off the person and then make them wear new ones. Like this it is. And so every jiva is attached to this costume. What is the costume? I am a man. I am a woman. I am a child. I am motherless. I am fatherless. What else? I am a karta. I am a doer. I am an experiencer. Plus all the other body dharmas, mind dharmas we have seen. I am intelligent. I am educated. I am somebody. Somebody means what? Suddenly the shoulders go back and then one stops slouching. I am somebody. That means what? Everybody has to say, take me into account and give me respect. Why do they have to give you respect? No, because I deserve respect. Just because you deserve something doesn't mean you're going to get it, okay? Yeah, that's life. Just because you want something, you won't get it. Just because you deserve something also, you won't get it. So that's how life is. But somehow all these things are basically being too fond of the costume. Being too fond of the costume, so much so that even after you have outgrown it, you will not take it off. The person will not take it off. And so here, therefore, the teaching is being given. What is the teaching? Isha Darshanam is Svatma Darshanam. The so-called darshan of Ishvara is basically what is there is the vision of oneself as non-dual, whole, free, and without a second. And so removal means here it's cognitive. In the case of the example of the child and the toy, the blanket or the toy, it is literal. Here, removal means what? It is cognitive removal, because the upadhi I cannot give up. As long as I am in this body, I cannot give up the body. Alright? So therefore, give up means what? Give up means give up the identification with the body, mind, sense complex. That's why this knowledge is not so easy. That's why one has to work hard to be able to make the space in one's life for this teaching. It's nice to spend the time in solitude. It's nice to meditate and just kind of contemplate over these verses that we are studying, and only then the change happens. We can't think that, okay, the change is immediate. The change is immediate. Something has happened here. But then what happens is that as soon as one finishes the retreat and goes back to one's home, old samskaras of various wrong identifications with not only your own upadhi but the upadhi of life itself. So many identifications, associations, wrong ones of course, take over. This is natural. Why? Because for so many lifetimes one has had those associations, and so now it takes time. Even though the knowledge is instantaneous, the associations may take time to drop. That is why mananam, nididhyasanam, shravanam, etc. become very, very important. Okay. So then, what does he conclude? Isha darshanam, swatma darshanam. The knowledge of the self is equal to the vision of the Lord. The Jiva and Ishvara are divided, so to speak, only upadhitaha, from the standpoint of upadhi. So what is common? Limitless awareness in the form of Sat, Chit, Ananda, common for Ishvara, common for Jiva. You cannot have Ishvara be some other entity. That then you cannot understand Ishvara then. If Ishvara were some other entity, you can never know that Ishvara as yourself, number one. If Ishvara was an entity outside of this universe, Ishvara would be finite and limited. Number two, see so many problems. If Ishvara were an entity outside the universe, number three, and if you knew this Ishvara, the crying and the complaining would not stop. You won't get moksha. As Pujya Swamiji would say, Ishvara would become Mama, Chacha, just like your uncle. My uncle lives in Delhi and Ishvara lives in Vaikuntha, Kailasa, wherever. It will become one more person to know. You may love your uncle. Knowing your uncle, you are not going to get moksha. Similarly, knowing Ishvara, if Ishvara was outside of this whole scheme of things, knowing Ishvara, also you will not be free. The only way to know Ishvara is as the truth of yourself. This is there in many cultures, even in the indigenous cultures, it was there. Wherever there are human beings, Vedanta is there. Then why are we here? Because in the Vedic tradition alone, the teaching tradition has not been destroyed by years of colonization, proselytization, all these things. The teaching tradition is intact here. But in so many indigenous cultures, We see this knowledge. There is a Lakota story. The Lakota indigenous people have a story. Very beautiful it is. So apparently Bhagavan, what they call Bhagavan, the great being. So the great being created all the animals and plants and everything, and then thought and called them all together and said, I'm going to create now a very special being who can know the non-separation between myself and the rest of creation. But I don't want this knowledge to fall in the wrong hands. Where shall I hide this knowledge? And so the eagle, who makes a nest very high up in the sky, somewhere on the big trees, said, let me keep this knowledge, it's so high. Nobody will find it until it's time, until it's their time. And so the great being said, you are too innocent. You don't know that they will, first thing they will do is put an eagle cam and watch you lay the eggs and raise the babies. And so then the whale said, let me take this and hide this knowledge. The whale offered to hide it under the bottom of the ocean. Then Bhagavan, the great being, said, you don't understand. They will do sea walk and snorkeling, and then they will have submarines and all kinds of things, and they will go and suss out this knowledge in no time. Then the fox said, the fox in that time did not have this bushy tail. It just had an ordinary tail like a dog. When the fox came and said, oh great being, I have an idea. The fox is very crafty, very clever. What is your idea? Why don't you hide it in themselves? Hide this knowledge in themselves. And the great being was so pleased, he pet the tail of the fox, and that's why the tail of the fox is very, very bush. What a nice story. Yeah. Lakota Vedanta. Yeah, like this, so many stories are there from different traditions. What is standing out here in our culture, our tradition, is that the teaching tradition is intact. There also would have been some teaching tradition, but somehow, sadly, it did not survive. We have the stories, we have all these kinds of things. So therefore, the Upadhitaha, from the standpoint of Upadhi, what am I? Devotee. That's what the verses 4 to 7 said in this very Upadesha-Saram. From the standpoint of this, I am a devotee. From the standpoint of the Satchidananda, I am one and the same. That's why we chant this mantra. Ishvaraha Guruhu Atma. So Ishvara separate, Guru separate, I separate. And then Murti Bheda Vibhagine. So the one who has created this so-called difference, but who is all what? One who is non-separate. I mean, you can say Ishvara and I are one, Guru and I are one. The whole universe and I are one. You can say it in any which way. But the point is to slowly practice, understand and practice overcoming this upadhi. So, to see Ishvara is to give up the notion, I am as good as this body, I am as good as the mind, I am as good as the sense organs. Otherwise, any other vision, if we say, I saw Ishvara yesterday, it would become what? Subjective. But from the standpoint of the Upadhi, I am a devotee. And then that's why we even have what is called Jnani Bhakta. 4 kinds of devotees are talked about. First one is 911 devotee. Only think of Bhagavan in emergency. Otherwise, why Bhagavan? Who Bhagavan? What is there? But something terrible happens, then you think of Bhagavan. Yes. And then you think of Bhagavan, and of course Bhagavan will come and help, all that is there. Maybe not immediately, but a little while later it will come. And then that person is called Artha Bhakta. Artha means not so ardent. Okay? Yeah, Artha Bhakta. Then the other one you find in India a lot, maybe even in Mauritius, where they go and promise Bhagavan a reward. Make my child pass her exams. She's doing some tough exams, and then make her pass, and then I will give you a wonderful sari. Is the goddess waiting for your sari? No. But that is the idea. She says, okay, tathastu, no problem. And if you don't bring the sari also, there are consequences because you have promised. She doesn't want the sari, but if you don't bring the sari, that kind of an omission even carries to your next life. Because if you go to the astrologer will look at the horoscope and then say, what will the astrologer say? Astrologer will say, in your last life, you forgot to give sari to the goddess even though you had promised. And that's why you are having all these difficult things happen to you. Because the omission becomes what? Apakarma. So, that is artharthi. Artharthi means very pragmatic. You give some, you take some. That's how it is in life. You give some, you take some. Even in matters with Bhagavan, this is how I negotiate. I give some, I take some. Same thing. The man will say, I am going to start a business. I will make it, I'll name it Balaji Enterprises. You be the sleeping partner, O Bhagavan. You are lying down anyway all the time. So, Narayana is lying down like this. We saw today. So, you are lying down anyway. You be the sleeping partner, and then I will do all the work. 50%, Tera. For you, 50%. Artharthi. Then we have Jignasu. What is the Jignasu? Who are you? Doesn't ask the question, who am I? Who are you? Some people are like that. You go and ask them a question, but they ask you a question instead. So, this bhakta is like that. Who are you? What makes you tick? Where are you? I want to know you. Not for getting something else. Bhagavan is no longer a medium for me to get something else. Bhagavan is the goal. That is the difference between the first two and this one. Bhagavan is the goal. Bhagavan is not a means to an end. And this is the transformation every student of Vedanta must undergo, and it will happen gradually. Doesn't mean you stop praying for things that you want, but you start having a yearning to find out who Bhagavan is. Then finally, we have Jnani, who is also a Bhakta. And who is this Jnani? Lord Krishna says, Jnani tu Atma eva. Jnani is myself alone. Udara sarva evaste. We may laugh at the first two, but Bhagavan Krishna says they are all exalted. Because the one that calls Bhagavan in a crisis could have robbed a bank instead, but is calling Bhagavan. So that's why they are still praying, they are learning to pray, they are all exalted, but every bhakta is exalted, but the Jnani is myself alone. The Jnani is not other than myself. That means what? The Jnani is also a bhakta. So after gaining Vedanta knowledge, you don't go and into the temple and say, yeah, I know who you are. No. You are myself only, that's okay. Yeah, no problem. You will still sit and pray. You will still sit and chant. You will still offer Naivedya and Agarbatti and this thing. Why? Because you have this Upadhi. Upadhitaha devotee. Cognitively, what? No, none separate. Same thing with the Guru. You know, you don't just go and slap the Guru on the back. Remember those days when you were teaching me? You don't do that. Yo, what's happening? Yo, Guru, you know. You still will do namaskara, you still will have that attitude. Why? Upadesha-Saram bheda is respected. In fact, the Shastra says even after gaining the knowledge, you have to follow you have to follow the rules of interaction with Bhagavan, with Guru and the like. Same thing. And same thing, when you become a mother and father, you don't change with your mother and father. You will still respect them. You don't say, yeah, I know what it's all about. So Svatma Darshanam eva Isha Darshanam. Okay. Where? What? Wait, we'll have question answers. At that time ask, okay? Yeah. Atmasamsthite Svatmadarshanam. There is this thing, Visarga. So when the Visarga contacts the Sakara, it becomes double. Atmasamsthite Svatmadarshanam. Atmanirvayad Atmanishtata. So, Atma Samsthiti means the abidance of the self, abidance in the self as Satchidananda, where the mind, the buddhi, everybody cooperates to abide in this knowledge is called Atma Samsthiti. I am with the Atma. I am not with the world. I am not with anybody else. I am not thinking of anybody else. If I think also, what I am thinking of is nothing other than Atma that I know. Nothing can take me away from this knowledge. This is called Atma Samsthiti. Atma Samsthiti is what? Svatma Darshanam, the vision of one's own self. That is Darshanam. And we already saw in the previous verse, the vision of oneself is what? Vision of Ishvara. Then why the answer is given in the next line, Atma Nirdvayat. Because of the fact that of the Atma being one and only. Kevala, one and only, meaning it is Nirdvaya, it is free of duality, then abiding in the self becomes easy, Atmanishtata. Atma Samsthitihi is Atmanishtata. Atmanishtata means Nitaram Sthitihi. Nitaram Sthitihi means that you are always in the same place. Nothing can take you away from this knowledge. It is a knowledge that is free of doubts, vagueness and error. This is what it is. This we will see tomorrow in detail. This much is enough. Then we will carry on. Now we can just convert this into what? Question answers. You had a question. What was your question? About the text, I think. Verse 25, yeah. 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 Yes. So, you see, Veshahanataha is the cause. So, Veshahanau, when the Vesha is gone, Hanataha means Hanat, Veshahanat. So, when the Vesha, the costume is destroyed, what takes place is one's own darshan. The darshan of one's own self happens. Then, what is this Isha Darshanam? Isha Darshanam is what? In the form of Swatma Rupataha, in the form of the one's own essential nature, which is what? Abba, yes, which is Satchidananda. Okay? Then, other questions are there? Yes.
My question is, seems to me like maybe they try to go to the complex to the symbol, and when is too much knowledge, maybe not enough, or when is it time to practice instead of preparing
Yeah.
That maybe the knowledge is simple.
The knowledge is simple. Yeah. We have this understanding, or rather, this misunderstanding, that just like with every branch of knowledge, first there is theory, like swimming. Swimming, you cannot learn above the ground, right? You cannot go like this and learn. You just jump in and learn. And so, like this, there is theory and then there is practice. Every knowledge, theory, practice, theory, practice, theory, practice. Pranayama also, if I just tell you how to do it, you don't know how to do it. You have to practice it. This is the only body of knowledge where the theory is the practice. There is nothing to practice. What will you practice? I am Satchidananda. How will you practice being Satchidananda? If Satchidananda wore a certain costume, then you can practice being Satchidananda by wearing that costume. Satchidananda is free of costumes, we saw. And if Satchidananda liked to eat a particular food, then you can be like Satchidananda by practicing eating something. If Satchidananda did something, then you will also do something. But here, you are Satchidananda. There is nothing more to do. There is nothing more to want. There is nothing more to gain. So, this is the only body of knowledge where there is no more doing. The doing is all before the Atma-Jnanam takes place, not afterwards. So, this takes a little while to wrap the head around, to understand that there is really nothing to do. How can it be so simple? But that's what it is. Because it is so simple, it is totally transformative. I used to look at the world a certain way, now I don't. That's all it is. And then it's a complete revolution because it changes my understanding of myself, it changes the understanding of the Jagat, it changes the understanding of everything, even Ishvara. But yet, it makes me free of sorrow. That is what we have to see and appreciate. And so, therefore, everything has theory and practice. Vedanta has no, it's not a theory, it's you. Vedanta means you. Vedanta means the knowledge of you as you want to be, not as you think you are. So when what you think you are, which is wrong ideas of finitude and all are are eliminated, then what is there is your own glory, which you are already living in, unbeknownst to yourself, whenever you are happy, whenever you are asleep. Both those times, you are already living this glory. And it may be a little, but with a little practice, you understand that. Practice means not practicing being that, but a little more listening to the knowledge. That is what one needs, Shravana, listening to the knowledge. When repeatedly you listen, then the Ganga of the knowledge, the sacred river of knowledge, washes over the stone and makes it into a Shivalinga. So then similarly it washes over the jagged edges of the personality and makes it into Purusha. I lose the personality to understand that I am the person. Cognitively, personality continues. There is no harm in that. Is that clear? Yeah.
Then what do you do?
The correct answer is whatever you want, because there is nothing you have to do. Most of the doings, I would say almost all of our doings are our undoings, because whatever we do is because of obligation, compulsion, or a feeling of dejection, whatever it is. Rejection, dejection, validation, some notion, that's all. There is this feeling I have to do this. There are very few things I want to do. Because in all this have to do, the want to do takes a back seat.
So what if I want to do some seva?
You can do seva. Nobody says don't. Please do seva. If you want to do seva, do seva. This is what it is. There is no rules for the jnani. O vidhihi, o nishedhaha. No to do's and no to don'ts also. Nothing.
You also said there are some rules of how you treat your guru, your father,
No, but that's we have to see from how we are speaking. From the standpoint of the upadhi, there are rules. See, the jnani will not flout the rules because there is nothing he or she wants. So if there is a rule saying that when you go to a temple you bow down and you don't behave in erratic ways, the jnani has no problem complying with the rule. Why? Because I don't want anything by rebelling against that. There's nothing for me to gain. So therefore I comply. There's nothing for me to lose. Therefore I comply. There's no gain, no loss. So those rules are there. The jnani may or may not comply. There are some people who won't comply and that's also okay. We have seen those stories where the person was, Guru Namdev putting the legs against the Shivalinga and all these. So those jnanis are also there. But they are a world of their own. So there is nothing to do, have to do that pressure, that compulsion of every day I have to be a certain way is not there. You do what you want to do and you don't what you don't want to do. You don't do what you don't want to do. It's very simple. You lead a life and then if you want to serve, you serve. But that service is much more free than the service that is given with the feeling that I have to get something back or somebody has to appreciate me or I have a passion here and I have to change some group, I have to change this person. That pressure is not there. The Pujya Swamiji did so much, my goodness, nobody could keep up with him. In his younger days, we have seen when he walked, nobody could keep up with him. We have to run behind him. He did so much. Night and day he was doing, but then it was without doership, without any pressure. That is what it is.
As a person,
As a person,
I'm expecting or I'm supposed to do something.
yeah.
Is there something I can flout?
Yeah, why not? When you have the knowledge, you can decide. What is this Sandhya Vandana giving me? It's giving peace of mind. I already have peace of mind, so no need to do it. The jnani will let go. In fact, if you lead a life of sannyasa, all that is let go on. You cut away the sacred thread. You cut away what is that called? Shikha. This little piece of tuft of hair that you have. You cut away all that because no identification with anything.
Very easy for me. So I understand. I am that.
Yes.
So I won't do all this.
Not you won't. You need not. Or you can. You see, there is a freedom. There's no compulsion. Even in the won't, sometimes there is a compulsion. Here there is no compulsion. I don't say I won't, I don't say I will. If the person is a grihastha and is a jnani, we'll follow all the rules. Like I said, there is nothing to be lost. We'll follow the rules to inspire other generations, perhaps, because that is something that happens. Bhagavad Gita says that to Arjuna. यद्यद् आचरति श्रेष्ठः तत्तदेव इतरो जनः सयत् प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तद् अनुवर्तते. So, यद्यद् आचरति श्रेष्ठः means Shreshtha, the exalted person who is a leader in society, a source of inspiration. will not flout the rules, will follow whatever is there, will not become a rebel, will do whatever is needing to be done. So, depending on one's ashrama, one's place in life, and one's station in life, will behave accordingly, because there is nothing lost in not behaving in that way, because there is already an inner freedom. So there is nothing lost in saying, I won't do this, I shouldn't do this, or I should do this. There is no will, there is no won't, and there is no should, there is no shouldn't. Is that clearer?
Not completely.
Not completely, okay. Try it out.
And now,
Yeah.
there are things like we offer.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, I know that
Yeah. If you are a jnani, it is all right. Yeah. If I am not a jnani, then it is not all right. It's very simple. Yeah. If I am a jnani, then okay, no problem.
So,
Because if I am not a jnani, then if I don't offer, or if I forget my evening prayer, sandhya or anything, then there is guilt. Then there is like wondering what to do. Oh my God, like this. It's guilt feeling, omission feeling, commission feeling. Jnani will not have that. In fact, there is a story in Ramana's life itself. He hardly spoke, and thank God that one person was there who recorded whatever he spoke. And so one such story is related. One man came, a middle-aged man came and said to Ramana Maharshi, my daughter is married, son is married, everything is settled, and then I wish to take sannyasa. I would like to take sannyasa. What do you think? Is it a good idea? And Ramana Maharshi looked at him. He was quiet up till then. He looked at him and he said, it's not a good idea. And that man got very angry, extremely angry. And the Maharshi said, what do you mean? It's not such a good idea. You yourself went to the Tiruvannamalai, you yourself cut off your sacred thread and threw it into the tank, you yourself cut off your tuft, you are living like a sannyasi. What right do you have to tell me not to take sannyasa? And Maharshi calmly said, yes, my dear sir, I did all those things, but I did not ask anybody's permission. Yeah. That's what it is. Surrendering ahankara. Yes.
Mind is operating from coding mechanisms. The child coding mechanisms doesn't know how to do it. That is one kind of thing that we code now. And the other one that we talk about the hidden behaviors. Hidden behaviors.
Yeah, hidden beliefs and behaviors. Yeah.
How do we? What is the way to get to know what are those hidden behaviors?
It happens. You will see it. Because when the first thing happens, the first thing, namely the surrender of the ahankara happens, then the hidden behaviors automatically come out. In fact, for the hidden behaviors and beliefs to come out, all you have to do is start studying Vedanta. Simple. And they'll come out after a little while. If they haven't come out in this retreat, wait. They'll come out in the next one perhaps. And then, so what does that mean? That means that this Vedanta gives us this wonderful opportunity to really dive into the corners of the Antahkarana and do a nice cobweb sweep out, spring cleaning. That's what it is. Spring cleaning can happen when you see the cobwebs. Cobwebs are seen. That's why people always tell me, I was fine until I started studying Vedanta. Once I started studying Vedanta, all these psychological problems I'm having. So therefore what? Vedanta is the cause of psychological problems. Wrong. Totally wrong. Yeah. It's bringing things up that do not match the knowledge. The knowledge is dear to you. It's bringing things up that do not match the knowledge and says, it's a mismatch, look into it, clean it up. That's when people leave. When the going gets tough, get going. Yes. That's when people leave. That's when one needs the titiksha, the tenacity to continue. And then one can do therapy, one can do yoga, one can do journaling, one can do inner child work, all these things one can do.
I wish we had started with this age.
Well, the Bhaja Govindam has some other ideas, because there also a question is asked, which is the correct age to study Vedanta. And somebody might have said, I wish I was small as a child. If I had done this, it would have been so wonderful. Balastavat krida saktah. The child is only interested in the teddy bear, blanket and toys and play. Oh, maybe I should be a young man, young woman when I'm in youth, young adult. Tarunastavat taruniraktah. The young adult, unfortunately, is only interested in another young adult. Okay? Okay, the correct time to study is after retirement, because that's what it is all about. Everything is free, all the desires have as though been taken care of. Vriddhastavat chinta magnaha. The vriddha, the elderly person, is what? Full of worries. How will I die? Will it be short and quick? But if it's short and quick, I can't say goodbye. I won't have time to say goodbye to all my relatives and friends. But then if it is really long, then nobody will take care of me. And then I'll just be languishing in bed. Oh Bhagavanta, I don't want this at all. Oh Lord, spare me from this. How will I die? And will my children get along? Don't worry, they are not getting along right now. So, don't worry what will happen after you are not there. This is how the elderly person's mind is full of worries about the future, about health, about property, all these things. And the author laments, Pare Brahmani Kopina Lagna. Poor Brahman, nobody is appreciating, nobody is interested in Brahman. So what is the right age to study Brahman? No right age. The age at which you start, the age at which you find yourself interested in Vedanta is the right age for you. Congrats. Yeah, should we stick to one guru or have many gurus? And can Shravanam be done with many gurus? See, the one guru thing is ideal, but even Pujya Swamiji had 3 different people. Why? Because he was not satisfied with what he studied until he found whatever a certain understanding and everything. Until he found that, he kept studying with different teachers. So he himself had 3 gurus. Swami Chinmayananda, his sannyasa guru, and then Swami Pranavananda, who he really credits for understanding the Vedanta as a means of knowledge, and a body of knowledge that is oneself. And then Swami Tarananda ji, who taught him Brahma Sutras. But then, as he was going from ashram to ashram, he thought, my students should not flounder like this. They should have everything they need in one place so they can study. So that was his sankalpa. But then, 2 things I'd like to say. One is, if you study with one guru, that is, if it's possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes it's not in one's prarabdha. It's also there. So, but if you study with one guru, there is a certain kind of a training that you receive in thinking. We are not giving, kasrat training, exercise training, but here it is in terms of thinking, in terms of being, in terms of doing. And so that really blesses, because you're not exposing yourself to too many ways of thinking and whatnot. So that's very nice. And then if you you study with many gurus, that also is nice, but the thing is, sometimes the same thing one guru conveys using one terminology, another guru uses another terminology, and it could be confusing. That's one thing. Second thing is, sometimes I feel that the one guru, one student, or one guru is kind of life is kind of over. It used to be in the past. That's an endangered species. The people who have studied with one guru, endangered species, because it's not there anymore. There is Kali Yuga, and then there is a lot of people coming on Zoom and YouTube, and people listen to many people. All I will say is that it is beneficial to listen to the same parampara. Like if you stick to Arshavidya teachers, you will not go wrong, because they have been all taught in a certain way, and we have all a certain way of unfolding. The words we may use is different. You may respond better to some person's teaching as opposed to somebody else, and that's wonderful. No problem with that. But that is so. In you stick to one parampara, and that will help.
I'm going to mention about theory and practice. I'm sorry.
Theory and practice, yes.
So, isn't there practice in terms of practicing to be that?
But you are already that. You don't practice to be that. That of which you speak is not away from you.
So, Bhagavad talks about the characteristics of them.
Yes.
So,
those characteristics become practice for us. The lakshana of the jnani becomes sadhana for the rest of the people. Why? Because we have a role model. So, it's not that you start behaving like a jnani, but you watch the jnani closely and see how the walk matches the talk. So it's not practice. It's about living the knowledge easily and effortlessly. So it's not theory and practice so much as effortlessly being oneself and living without hang-ups.
for example, if I get angry,
Yes.
sometimes I get over that,
Yes.
that emotion.
Yes, I'll repeat for the people here, if one gets angry very quickly, it will take some time to get over the emotions. Okay, no problem with that.
So that's a practice.
That practice has nothing to do with Satchidananda. You are not practicing Satchidananda. You are practicing anger management. Those are two different things.
How to be a Satchidananda.
Yeah. You are already, not to be, you already are Satchidananda who happens to get angry. You are all Ananda who cries sometimes. You are Satchidananda who happens to be angry. To be Satchidananda means I'm not and I have to do something to be that. There is no doing, there is no being, there is no striving, no becoming. You already are Satchidananda. Satchidananda got angry, big deal, okay, no problem. Satchidananda. Stop talking, she said, yeah. No, it's important. Everybody is thinking that of the same thing. Yeah. So, to what? No, this is.
Because I expect to be something similar because sometimes I see people that they don't study nothing.
They don't study.
They don't study nothing. They don't seek
They don't seek
like spiritual.
a spiritual life.
So they get better than me and sometimes myself. And they also have expected things. I have expected things and
They also have what?
like expected things and
Expected?
Expectations.
Expectation. Yeah.
that oh you should be angry or
Yeah.
but I think I'm understanding the question because I
You have the same question. Yeah.
Same question.
Correct.
It's not such an answer, it's just a gym which is separate.
Yeah. It is not Satchidananda, it's the Upadhi. The Upadhi has to manage anger, and those are all practices to prepare for this knowledge. Those are not practices to become this. Those practices are to prepare for the knowledge, because if I am getting angry at a drop of a hat, Vedanta will not go in. I need samadhanam, I need focus, I need shamadama, I need the management of the mind. We saw why we need the management of. Those are all preparatory practices. They are not practices to be done after the gain of the knowledge. I am not practicing anything. So before knowledge, what was I? Satchidananda. After knowledge, what am I? Satchidananda. Before knowledge, Satchidananda got angry. After knowledge, Satchidananda is better at that. That's all. So it's not the Jnani's Lakshana, when we study about the Jnani's life, we get a lot of tips on how to conduct our practices now, before the gain of this knowledge, so that I'm ready to gain this knowledge properly. As I'm gaining this knowledge, I'm prepared. You see, those are two different things. After I gain this knowledge, there's nothing to practice. Absolutely nothing to practice, because you are Satchidananda.
You still have to learn to do that.
No, you have to understand how you are Satchidananda. Let's put it that way. And that only Vedanta can teach. Okay? You had a question? Did you have a question? No. I'm having trouble hearing.
Many ashrams or many spiritual systems have rules and regulations. So how do we reconcile this?
Rules are for, better compliance with Karma Yoga. In the ashram, rules have to be there. At home, I can get up at noon. Nobody is there to stop me. Sometimes people say, why bother getting up? Just spend the whole day in bed. Yeah. But here, in the ashram, there are rules. The bell will ring at 4 o'clock. In the ashram, next to ours in Rishikesh, we don't ring the bell. And where my room is, it's right there. I can hear it. I say, okay, it's 4 o'clock. So why should we wake up at 4 o'clock? Who says we have to wake up at 4 o'clock? Nobody says we have to wake up at 4 o'clock. But there is when you wake up at 4 o'clock, everybody else is sleeping. It's a quiet time. Very good time for meditation. That's why it's called Brahma Muhurtam. Sacred time. Every time has a certain kind of a thing. It's a sacred time. So I honor that time. So when everybody is waking up, see at home if I tell myself I'm going to wake up at 4 o'clock, you will definitely not wake up at 4 o'clock. Especially with all these snooze buttons that are there. But in the ashram, you go, oh my God, everybody else is waking up at 4 o'clock, I also have to wake up at 4 o'clock. So the body is disciplined. When the body is disciplined through studying at a proper time, eating at a proper time, sleeping at a proper time, praying at the proper time, then the mind also is disciplined. So when the body is kept clean, the mind also is kept clean. Like that it is. There is a connection. That's what the rules is. You wear white in the ashrams. Why do you wear white in the ashrams? Because it's a no-brainer. You don't have to sit and think which color today, what looks good on me, which dress will make me look slim and trim. You don't have to think about it. You just take it out. Which white? You don't say which white. Everything is white. There are no shades in white. Of course, if you do a 3-year course, at the end of 3 years, all the whites have turned grey. And if they haven't turned grey, they have turned a light yellow. Yes. Okay, beige. So that's all it is. You just take and wear. Simple. You don't have to worry, is the bottom matching the top? You don't need to worry about that. Yeah. And the whole day you are kept busy. There is Gurukula Seva, 1 hour, and then you have to study. Sometimes there are 2 Sanskrit classes, oh God. And then, so like this, the whole day, and at the end of the day, you don't have time to ask yourself, how should I upkeep myself? What should I do? No. Just go to bed. So it's loosening the fondness for that security blanket called the upadhi. It loosens that connection, like, oh, I have to have this at a certain time. If I don't have this at a certain time, I just get the shakes, and I have to do this, I have to do that. These are all notions. Most of them are wrong. So when I don't have that, then I find I have survived. No problem. Without coffee, I survived. Fantastic. Like this, it trains the body, it trains the mind, it trains even the emotions. And then one becomes so shama, dama, uparati, titiksha, shraddha, all this it takes care of. The lifestyle is very, very intrinsic to gaining this knowledge. Like I said, all the practice is during and before the gain of this knowledge. Afterwards, there is no practice. Yeah? Any other questions? Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhave Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya.
My question here was, these two,
Yeah.
are they fifth case?
Of course they are fifth case, yeah. But they are different fifth cases.
Yeah, Tahsil, no?
Tahsil, but they are different.
Not like a because, not like
Yeah, one is because.
Hetu.
Yeah, one is the hetu, the other one is on account of.
Or-
Om Namah Shivaya.